Okay, welcome to another Shop Talk. Today I'm going to be talking about probably my most favourite tool, which is the Festool Domino. I absolutely love it. Just a quick reason, why do I love it? I mean, I also love the Lamello, but why do I love the Festool? Basically, in one box, in one unit rather, it is a mortising machine, and you use a loose tenon, so very similar to mortise and tenon, but it's a loose tenon. Look at the size of it, it's nothing. If you had a mortising machine in the corner, it'd weigh a ton, take up loads of room. It's only got one task. This thing you use for everything. So that is why I love it. It's a great jointing machine. It's changed the design of my furniture tremendously since getting to use it. And even the XL, which is the real game changer for me, I'm going to show you. So what have I got to show you today? Real simple. It's an alignment jig, but it is quite incredible. It's not often that you get something in the workshop that is a massive game changer. And I can't explain on the video how this feels when you are cutting your dominoes or mortises with this jig. It is insane. It is so accurate. It is the closest thing you're going to get to, it's as accurate as CNC easily. It's the closest thing you're going to get to repeat cuts, no pencil marks, no mistakes. It's an absolute game changer. It costs less than a 3-meter rail from Festool. And it is absolutely killer. So let's just get started. I've got a couple of different attachments, one for plunging vertically, one for plunging horizontally. I can actually see me buying a second one of these dominoes if I get a big run of cabinets, because that's probably the slowest thing of always changing that. Other than that, this thing is on fire. Then you may have seen this going into some ply. I'm going to show you with ply because it's very good at sheet goods, but I'm going to show you what I use it for, because I don't really do a lot of sheet goods, mainly custom. I'm going to show you some tricks when you're using it with like 22mm oak, which is what I make my carcasses from at the end. So let's first of all show you how it works quickly. We're not going to require a pencil for this, which is unbelievable. So let's get going. First of all, let's see what you get and what you need on here. You're going to need this DAG plate, which I guess is Domino alignment jig. It goes from your standard carcass sizes here, but I'll explain there's other ways to use it from that. Standard carcass sizes here. With a reference T, and you'll see me use this. This is just to make sure it's square when you put it on the cabinet or on the board. And then you've got a vertical DVS. So this is a vertical plate when your Festool is this way and it's plunging down into, say, the side of the carcass. And then you have your plate for going in the end, the horizontal of the carcass like this. Now, I'm not going to go into loads of details, quite a lot online. I just want to show you this jig today. But this basically cuts horizontally, and you can flip it round, and there's some shims. If you've got 18mm, 9mm, 22mm and 11mm, you can flip it over, do 12, 6 on the other side, and there's a selection of shims. So you can see there's not a lot to it really. 3 components if you want to do plunges, vertical, horizontal, and then the DAG plate, which is the key. I'm going to show you that in a sec, but I just need to explain, it isn't crucial when we go forward here. I just like to explain, and I'm going to show you at the end, it isn't crucial that these dominoes, and I'm sure if you've used one of these before, they don't actually have to be right in the center, and that is where it gets quite exciting with the odd sizes, the large size stuff for the custom cabinets later on. We don't need those to be right in the middle every time. They obviously need enough meat either side, but a 22mm setting is plenty for anything. So we'll get into that at the back end of the video. Let's just show you this bad boy in action. And it is really, really nice to use. Let me just show you. Okay, so the first cut we're going to do here is going to be, let's say, the top of our cabinet. So we just place the DAG plate on. We just double check with this little spacer here. So it's very clever, just to make sure it's all square. And it is. Clamp that down. Just double check this end. That's all good. So we're all spot on. Now, this need to say, this is giving a spacer for the edge cut. Now, it's going to put a domino in. Let's have a look at this first. We'll put one in. So I'm going to go in on the pins. I'm going to go in on number 4 there. You can see here, these pins are just going into the slots. I've done this one here, center, and then I'm going into the number 4 on the right there like that. You can see it doesn't quite touch because the domino is referencing off the piece of wood, not off of this guide. That is crucial. Now we remove this plate and you can see why I possibly would want to get another domino, because this is the bit that's the slowest. I mean, what you would normally do if you're making cuts is obviously you do all of one and then all of the next, so it's not the end of the world, but this is the slow one if you're knocking out cabinets. Okay, the next step is to cut the side of the cabinet. This first one we did was the shelf. This is going to go on here. So now we need to cut the side of the cabinet, and still I have not used a pencil for this, so I'm going to go in, do exactly the same thing. I'm going to go in there, align this exactly the same as we did last time. Check that's all okay. It is. Put this down, and all we're going to do is use the same holes. And you can see the difference on the vertical plunge is we're still using that pin 4 on the right there, but this time this joint is touching. So this is now the reference for the edge, and that is the key. So the reference in from the edge is done by this plate touching that plate. Very different from the cut for the shelf, which you don't reference the plate. Put some dominoes in. Now, one of the other things is, if you haven't used the domino before, just before I put this together, the domino has these 3 settings. So traditionally, you'd do 1 or maybe 2 referencing from the edge on the tight setting. Then you'd switch to the loose setting in case you were, either side of a pencil line, because that little bit does make it very difficult on glue ups. And the thing about this is, when you're doing these big long glue ups, if you take your time putting these jigs on, you won't need to do so much test fits. And I'll show you why you don't want to do too many test fits in a minute, because I'm telling you now, getting these dominoes out is not easy. So there it is, perfect. And that front and back are spot on. And the cool thing is that that's a very difficult problem to fix if everything's unaligned at the front of your shelves. The bottom there, you can just feel it, but it's a lovely fit. Looks like a kind of cabinet. This is derived from a kitchen CNC factory. Just a slight hair over there, but that's going to depend on your stock. Now, what is cool about this is how difficult. Knowing that this jig is going to give you repeat cuts all the time means you don't have to do these test fits. And these test fits, these little dominoes, are a pig to get out as it is. If you get to a 14mm domino and you've got 10 of them in a carcass as a test fit, what a nightmare to get out. You damage the domino, you can damage the hole. So knowing that these are all perfectly aligned every time is a massive, massive difference when it comes to joining with the domino. Okay, now just for the sake of explaining it, because it's just easier to show you, this is some 22mm stock, some English oak, normally what I'd use to make a cabinet. Just wanted to show you, without changing any settings or using shims, how this works absolutely fine. It doesn't just work with 18mm stock. So same setup, just put this on here. Clamp this into position, just checking that it's all aligned, and it is. Just for the test, I've not even changed the DAG plate, it's just a random length of stock. You can just go in anywhere, line up your pins. That's those 2 cut. Now we just change the plate. I really would like, I tell you what would be great, is if there was some sort of offset, because I've got a Domino XL sitting there doing nothing. It'd be lovely to have one set up to do the plunge and one set up to do the shelves, but the problem is the dominoes have a different spacing on the bottom because they're kind of, the base is different. So I don't know if there's any way Frank in the future could make a plate for people who own 2 machines to save you having to swap between them. That would be absolutely awesome. There's always something, isn't there, though? There's always something new that you want. Okay, let's get that ready. I'll come around and show you a bit closer this time on the pins. Just zooming in to show you what's going on. So again, because we've not changed anything, we just bring this down as it was, check we're all square there, and we are. Clamp this into position. Now this time, because we're doing the plunge cut this way, we are going to reference off there. So show you that. I just randomly used the first pin near the edge was here. Now this is a bit of a big domino for this particular stock, but I was just showing you. And there you have it again, a perfect flush fit on here. Really, really good. Now, what I was trying to explain to you was, this is a 10mm domino, and for what we're cutting, 22mm, that's not the right size, but I just wanted to show you what you can do with that same setting. Here is an 8mm domino in 22mm stock, and what you can see, it isn't centered, but often that's the case because when a domino comes, it doesn't actually have a setting for 18mm, it's 15. So it isn't perfectly centered, but there is plenty of meat top and bottom, and you're still going to get a perfect join at the top and bottom of your cabinet, even with any thickness of stock. Now you can shim this if you're going to use really thick stock. If you're going to go to larger stock than 18, like this 22mm, remember that the hole is quite offset because it's really for 18. Now, if you shim it, which is like this, one of these shims which comes with it, you'll get the hole perfectly centered, as you can see there, for 22mm. You could obviously use multiples of this shim to get it more centered on like a 30mm even, use a couple more. So if you put your shim here on this base plate, you've obviously added 2mm. Now, if you do use the shim on the base, obviously you're going to have to use the same shim on here just to get it centered on this edge. So it's very easy to do. Try and do it so you can see what I'm doing. Just clamp that down, and now you've got perfect, whatever you shim on there, you just put on there. And if you're going to do lots of repeat work, to make it easy, once you've got your shim set, get something like a gauge like this, set it, and now that is set perfectly, really quick for your 22mm stock every time. And then once you've done that, you can plunge your hole, and here we have 22mm stock, perfectly fitted, perfectly aligned as per normal. Really, really good. Okay, so everything I've just showed you was for the 500, but it also works on the 700. So if you do have both machines like me, the only difference would be for the horizontal plate, you have a smaller one for the 500 and this big monster with a lovely big handle, which goes on your 700. Now these plates can be used with the DAG, or lots of people just like to use them when they're doing their edge plunging as a better reference and a better, a more exact reference, no adjustment, it's always the same. So it can be used for two things, but for me it's with this DAG plate. And what you can't see on the video is how amazing, if you use one of these dominoes, you'll know that if you're sometimes a bit lazy, they can come to, because it's cutting on a sort of wiggle, if you like, it can sometimes move a little bit. Leaving a domino on the tight setting and just putting those reference pins in and pushing is just amazing. It can't be explained enough how cool it feels and how accurate it is. It's so nice. It's an absolute game changer. I've got some ply carcasses coming up soon. I'll be using this in that build. And you'll see it in action a bit more. This was just for demo, but absolutely brilliant. Frank, this tool is insane. It's a game changer, FCtools. Link in the description as always. Any questions, please ask me. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please give it the bell and the thumbs up. It really helped last week when you all did that. It really, really did. So the Google Analytics is back on shape or getting there. So I do appreciate your support as always. And thank you so much to my patrons. Really cool that you're supporting making these videos without a doubt. I'll see you all on the next one. Stay safe.